Happy Saturday to everybody. Hope everybody is safe and well wherever you are. Before we get into the video, I'm actually hoping to, I'm going to attempt to do a live stream late tomorrow afternoon, so Sunday afternoon, and I'm actually going to try and put the global weather and climate report on a live stream tomorrow if I'm successful in downloading OBS. I do actually think I've got it on my laptop. It's been quite a long time since I've done a live stream, but it's been on my mind for a wee while now about trying to do live streams once again because I think they are quite exciting. It's a good way to interact live with folk that are watching, and it's a little bit different. It would be probably about the 30 to 40 minutes long as well. So I'm also working on trying to increase the duration of the video as well, ever so slightly. I've always had the belief that a 15-minute window is about enough to hold people's attention without starting to go longer and longer, and then you lose people's interest because I think in this day and age as well, people's attention span is somewhat shorter to an extent, and I don't mean to insult anybody by saying that, but with the busyness, with the amount of distraction that we have in this day and age, I think I personally sometimes would start to lose focus and lose, to an extent, interest in a subject if the video is too long. So I've always had the belief that a 15-minute window is sufficient. However, I do think, based on feedback in the comments, etc., I think there is a demand for a little bit longer, and quite often I do have to rush videos to try and cram it into the 15-minute window. So I am going to try and get a package in place where it allows me to do videos for longer. It is actually Screencast-O-Matic that I work with, and yeah, it is actually the free version which only allows you 15 minutes. But I'm going to have a look into that to try and extend the video a little bit longer. Just keep in mind that I do work full time as a lorry driver, driving night shift, and my time is a little bit precious during the mid to late afternoon period. I tend to sleep generally from about between 6 and 7 a.m. through till about 2, possibly 3 p.m. And you get up, you have time to shower, have something to eat, spend a little bit of time with the missus before heading out to work. And sometimes I actually struggle time wise anyway. But I am going to try and work on a couple of things. I'm going to try and get OBS set up with the YouTube. Going to try and do a live stream possibly tomorrow. So try and stay tuned if you're available and you're not doing anything kind of from about the back of 3, 4 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. I'm hoping to try and go live with the global weather and climate report. So stay tuned for that if you can. Anyway, enough of the boring business. Let's look and see what's going on with the weather. Exciting times to come. I want to say a massive thank you to new people who have hit the subscribe button. Hope you're enjoying the content. Hope if you're new to the subject of meteorology and learning a little bit more, I hope it's not too complex over your head. I hope it's as understandable as possible. And, there is a lot of complicating changes taking place within the atmosphere at the moment, but also very exciting changes as well. A lot of people are writing off winter because we had the warm spell, not only here in Europe, by the way, but also North America, parts of Eastern Asia. We've seen the majority of the mid-latitudes of the Northern Hemisphere warmer than average. And that has been because of the Mount-Julian Oscillation, a force within the tropics that has rotated in an amplified way, and I use the term amplified it's important to keep that in mind. The reason why is because the more amplified it is, the more influence it has within the mid to high latitude pattern. So in other words, we have a belt of enhanced convection. One area of the planet will have no convection at all, so we've actually got drier than average conditions, hotter than average conditions. Remember, this is a tropical entity, and when you've got subsidence in one part of the planet, you've got heat wave conditions, drought, um, and hotter than average temperatures. And another part of the world, you've got enhanced convection, thunderstorm activity. But what happens is those thunderstorms that are blowing off in one particular area of the planet then propagates, that energy then propagates northwards and influences the mid to high latitude pattern. And that is exactly what's happening. And we've seen it now, both the early December and mid January cold spells. It looks as if cold spell number 3 of the winter 2023-24 is upon us. We're going to see that taking place. We are now seeing the changes taking place. We're starting to see the pattern flipping on its head. By that I mean we're seeing low heights within the Arctic and above average heights within the subtropics turning on its head. So we're going to start to see heights coming down further south and heights coming up further north. So you're transferring heat energy up into the high latitude pattern. But remember, over the last fortnight or so, we've had a congregation of cold air within the Arctic. So we've essentially pushed all the cold air that we had back during the middle portions of January back up into the Arctic region, and that has been building in the last couple of weeks here. Now, the modelling has a hard time seeing this change taking place. It sometimes struggles to see how much cold air is available within the Arctic. When it gets pushed back into the Arctic, you have low pressure, you've got colder air. We'll have temperatures close to minus 60 in Greenland after being really warm during the middle portions of January because we had high pressure with blocking with that negative North Atlantic oscillation. Now we're seeing the changes again. We had the cold congregate back over Greenland while Europe and North America is warm. Now we're going to start to see the pattern change once again. And it's that pulse of enhanced convection within the equatorial belt of the planet that is helping force that change. So you can see here that we rotated through phases 4 and 5, hence the very warm pattern that we're just coming out of. But it's now been for some time over phase 6, which then allows the high pressure southern UK, northern France, areas of low pressure disturbances riding over the top of that high across the north, hence why we've still seen windy conditions, disturbed weather, especially across the northern half of the UK. Disturbances running over the top of that high that's been centered over the southern UK, northern France. So that is a phase 6 reflection with the pattern that we're literally just coming out of. Now we've been in phases 7 and trying to lean into phases 8. Phase 7 promotes northerly blocking. Arctic oscillation negative, North Atlantic oscillation negative also. And remember, there is a lag within the atmosphere of that taking place, the forcing within the tropics, and the actual response to the mid to high latitude pattern. That takes time, and we are now going to start to see that change taking place. So that's a little bit of explanation as to what I'm talking about with the Mann-Julian oscillation. And we also have to take into consideration that we had a brief, albeit a brief, reversal in the mean zonal winds within the polar stratosphere. So that meant that we reversed the winds within those winds circling the polar vortex. We've seen strong warming from Siberia towards the pole. That's caused the tremendous pressure put onto the polar vortex. And usually when you've got a sudden stratospheric warming, there's a lag of about 2, possibly 3 weeks, the response time between that taking place and some response down within the mid-latitude pattern. So the MJO, stratospheric warming, all coming together very nicely indeed to help bring winter cold spell number 3 to our back door. There's no clear-cut definite it's happening, we're guaranteed to see it, but there is a very, very good opportunity here for something coming down the road. Now, this is the month of February so far. Warm, isn't it? We actually started off warmer than average at the beginning of January, but this actually is what eventually took place. If I can get to the right article, it always helps. but we did see a warmer than average start in January. But by the way, this was the period between the 14th and the 19th of January, actually firmly below average. If you notice here, the period 9th through 19th, which is a 10-day period, this was the temperature anomaly across the UK, Ireland, and Europe. So we started off warmer than average, then we flipped on its head. This was the period between the 1st and the 19th of January, still firmly below average, and that was caused by the weak warming of the polar stratosphere late December. Then we've seen that response. We also see the Manjulian oscillation going into favourable phases as well. And yeah, we did wind up slightly below, like literally bang on average. So this is according to Dan Harris of the Met Office and the UK for January. So not a bad call, actually. Average to slightly below average was the call on marvoganweather.com for the month of January. So we were near average temperature-wise. We were near average precipitation-wise. I thought there was going to be a slightly drier than average January, if I'm being honest. This surprised me a little bit. The 6th sunniest January on record for the UK is rather interesting, actually. Now, another couple of interesting things to speak about, by the way, and we'll look at this in more detail tomorrow in the Global Weather Report. Scandinavia, this is now the 4th consecutive colder than average month, with an anomaly between -1 and -5 below average, and Finland was the most below average country worldwide actually in January, which I think is quite interesting. But the fact that it's the 4th colder than average month for Scandinavia is pretty impressive stuff, given the level of warmth globally that we're seeing at the moment here. The Baltic countries was also cold, with Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania seeing anywhere from 1.2 to -3.2 below average. So quite interesting stuff. Do check out yesterday's video, by the way, if you're interested in a little bit more about the stratospheric warming situation here. This is a tweet here recently by our good friend Shrine Bruin, and he says that the GEFS 0Z mean went down. It went to town with the U60 north winds. So down the reversal, major SSW territory, some perturbations getting to record-breaking levels. So we are seeing the models starting to hone in on a major deceleration of the winds within the polar stratosphere towards the middle portions of the month here. Now, I know people are dismissing that and saying that that's not going to have any influence by the time we reach the end of February, early March. Remember, the beast from the east arrived at the end of February, beginning of March. Just want to point that one quickly out to you. So, you know, the cold that's coming at the moment is going to come at a time where it could deliver significant influences. This, by the way, is off the GFS deterministic, and this is the total snowfall between now and Monday the 19th of February. Dramatic stuff. I know it's not going to all fall at the exact same time, so I don't expect to see a UK and Ireland wide snow cover. The majority of Europe covered in snow as well, but I do think we have got very interesting times to come, by the way. So this is February so far, early times, of course. This is the ECMWF weeklies for the next 30-day period. Notice here that we've got the block over the North Atlantic and Greenland, displaced jet further south. This is the GFS, the GEFS ensemble. You can see here the block in North America, Greenland. We've got the displaced jet, weakened jet stream at that as well. This is the temperature anomalies for the 30-day period here, and you can see here that it is largely below average across the central and northern UK, average England, Wales, Ireland. Again, this would be a 5th consecutive month, by the way, of colder than average across Scandinavia. This is the GFS ensemble. Similar idea, only slightly warmer than average, if you notice here, across central and southern UK, below average across the north. But you get the general idea. Remember, this is the 30-day anomaly. So this is going to be a very interesting one, by the way, coming up. Very strong winds, another deep area of low pressure attacking Norway. We'll look at the details on that in tomorrow's video as well. Stay tuned, like, share, and subscribe. See you.